this is the budgeting template that I use that has helped me take control of my finances. I'm someone that tried a lot of apps out there such as Rocket Money and Mint, but I never found much success with them, which led me to creating my own template. And after multiple iterations, I've developed a spreadsheet that works so well for me that I'm giving it away for free. Go ahead, download it in the description once you all know how to use it. But this video is going to be broken down into 5 key components, each looking at one section on my spreadsheet for how I track things. Now taking a look at the spreadsheet, the first section we're going to look at is where we record our income. Now what you want to make sure you do is track every single penny, whether it comes from a traditional job or it comes from a birthday gift or Christmas money. Write down every single thing that comes into you. That way we can use it later on in some other sections that will autofill for some comparisons. And within that income section, we're going to have 3 key columns to look at. The first one being our source of income. Now for most people, you can just fill in your job. If you have a side hustle or a second job, go ahead, fill that in as well. And today, as I fill out the demo spreadsheet that I'm doing as an example, I'm not using any of my actual income or expense numbers. I just want to keep a layer of privacy. So please don't come at me in the comments if things seem a little bit outrageous. But the other 2 columns in the section are going to be for what we expect to bring in that month and what we actually bring in. And depending on the type of job you have, this can be relatively straightforward or vary a bit. Let's say I have a salary and I make $100,000 a year. I know exactly what I'm bringing in every single paycheck. There's going to be no variance. On the other hand, let's say that I work an hourly job or a seasonal job that gets a lot of hours during the summer or during the winter. I would just write down what you expect to make that month. That way you can see if, hey, I'm not working as many hours as I should be, or I'm working a ton, I'm doing a great job staying on track. And personally, I only write down the number that actually hits my bank account when I do get paid. I don't put in or account for the 401k here, taxes. Whatever shows up in my bank account is what I write in the section. And in the spreadsheet, there's a nice sum function that will add up all of your expected pay and actual pay. Just for comparison, like I said, if I'm expecting to bring home $2,000 a month and I only bring home $1,800, I can then make sure I adjust my budget accordingly. Or if I expect to bring home $2,000 and I bring home $3,000, I can adjust accordingly that way as well. But now let's jump over to section number 2 on the spreadsheet, which is going to be for our fixed expenses. And similar to our income section, this is hopefully pretty straightforward. We're going to have these same 3 columns. We're going to have our source for what our fixed expense is, what we expect to pay that month for it, what we actually pay that month for it, and then at the bottom we'll sum things up. And just to list a couple items that I personally put here, it's things such as your electric bill, your rent, your health insurance, things along those lines that are fixed expenses. You know, month to month, this is what I'll be paying. Essentially, anything that is fixed month to month that you know you're going to have to pay money for. This is not the section where you'll put things that are non-fixed expenses like I went to the movies with some friends, or I'm taking a vacation, or I have these subscription services. This is kind of the bare bones necessities section. And once again, once we list off all of our sources, we're going to go through and put what we expect to pay for it. And like I said, this will sum up at the bottom of the spreadsheet to see if we spent more than we expected or if we spent less than we expected that month. And something that I personally like to do at the end of each month is go through and see where I did really well and assign that a green color, and see where I did poorly and assign that a red color. For me, this is just a great way to visually see, hey, you know what? I spent much less than I needed to on gas. Good job, keep it up. Or, hey, I budgeted in $400 for grocery and I spent $600. Hey, you need to cut back a little bit on how much you're buying. What could we do to improve there? Now, this could be easily automated to do this for me. The reason I've left this to do it manually is because it creates that connection for me to see and recognize and have to face what I'm actually spending on. And this is why I never had success with those apps that I mentioned earlier, because they were too good at what they did. They were too easily automated. They tracked right from your credit card or debit card, and they put that expense into what your budgeting category would be, and they filled everything out for you, so much so that you were never really forced to see what you actually spent on or truly face, hey, I'm overspending, I need to cut back. And if you take one thing away from the video today, please try and do things manually. That has been the recipe for success for myself. I personally sit down at the end of each month and take an hour and fill everything out. There's no reason that you can't do that as well. But now let's move on to our third section on today's list, and this is going to be our investment section. And if you haven't picked up on it, I have things organized based off the way the cash flows through the system. It starts off with our income. Then I cover our fixed expenses, things that are our absolute necessities in order to live each month. Then after that, I go to our investments, which I think should be the next thing you look at before touching your wants and needs. And not everyone will agree necessarily with how I have my cash flow, but I've found that this is a great way to make sure I can still enjoy things later down the road while also taking care of what I should be doing with my investments, preparing for the future. But now looking at the spreadsheet again, we're gonna have the same 3 sections. I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. Source, expected, actual. On the sources, you can list off everything you invest in: 401k, Roth IRA, stocks, crypto, high yield savings account, any sort of investment that will bring you revenue eventually. And one thing to take note of here, if you have any pre-tax investments, still take note of them. For myself, I invest in a 401k with the company I work for. That is not reflected in that income section we saw earlier. All of my other investments are. The 401k is separate though. And once you fill in all of your sources, go ahead and rinse and repeat with your expected versus actual investments. Each month I like doing this again, filling in green where I did really well and red where I could improve on for the next month. Now moving on to our next section, this is going to be where we record our other expenses. If you couldn't have guessed it, this section is set up the exact same way as our other sections. You're going to have your source, expected, and actual expenses. And just to fill out a few examples, let's say that I have a concert I'm expecting to buy tickets for, and they're going to be around $100 a piece, and I could have a couple purchases with Amazon or on, say, another website like Best Buy, things like that that are not necessities to live. These are our other expenses. And at the end of the month, go ahead and fill out the actual column for how much you truly did pay on each of these expenses. And rather than going through and seeing green and red for where I did well or poorly, I break this section up into wants and needs below. Once again, this is going to be manual, and I do this on purpose so you can face and see exactly where you're spending and where you can cut back. Let's say that I needed a new pair of shoes for work. I personally would put that in my needs column because I only have one pair of shoes, and if those break or get ruined, I'm gonna need another pair to look presentable at work. If you already own 30 pairs and, oh, I need a new pair of shoes for work, that's gonna be a want. You have plenty of other shoes that you already have. And truly in this section, you're only gonna get out of it what you put into it. If I'm gonna lie to myself and act like all these purchases I had are needs, that I needed to go to the concert, that I needed new clothes, if you're not gonna face facts and realize that those are wants rather than needs, then there's going to be an issue. You're going to think that you need a lot more and are going to continue to spend poorly. But if you sit down, are truthful with yourself, and really analyze that, hey, you know what? I spent $500 on crap I didn't need this month, and in reality, I probably could have gotten away with spending $100 and been just as fine. And by no means am I saying that you can't go out and buy things that you want. I just view it as a way to almost analyze and see, are my goals aligned with what I'm actually doing? If I'm planning on buying a house and I need to save up for a down payment, but I'm continually going out spending $400 each month on concert tickets, you can probably cut that in half and contribute $200 to what you actually should be doing. But now let's move ahead to our 5th and final section, which is the evaluation section. Starting at the top, we're going to have 3 sections that are going to auto-populate based off of how you filled in your other sections earlier. These are going to be for the total amount that you earned that month, total amount that you spent, and total amount that you invested. I like doing it this way as I can directly see, is my total income higher than what I'm truly spending, and am I investing more than I'm spending as well? Beneath this section, we're going to have a debt section. Here, I want you to list off everything that you have debt-wise. This could be student loans, credit card debt, a mortgage, things that you are owing each month. Now within this section, the 2 columns to the right are going to be for what we start with versus end with. At the start of each month, I would put down your total debt for something, and at the end, write what that total debt is now. Hopefully, you should see this number go down at the end of the month. If I start off with $100,000 of loans, and at the end, I end with $98,000, that's a great sign. On the contrary, if I start with $100,000 for loans, and at the end, I end with $100,500, I probably can see, you know what, I need to make sure that I attack this hard next month and bring that number down. Similarly, we're going to have the assets section as well. We're going to have our source, at the start of the month, how much we have, and at the end of the month, how much we have. We want to see this number improve and go up each month. Things that I would list here: how much your portfolio is worth for crypto, how much your stocks are worth, how much other investments are worth, and see how it's continually growing each month. And our last section on the spreadsheet that is entirely optional, but I like doing, is tracking credit card points. And how this section works, I write down the credit card issuer, as well as how many points I have at the end of the month. I personally like doing this just to track out how much cash back I have if I were to plan travel in the future, just to see in total how much I do have. But that is how I'm able to take control of my finances and make sure that I'm setting myself up for success in the future. Like I said, there's going to be a link in the description for you all to go download the sheet for free. No sign up, no email, just go ahead, download it, play around with it, adjust things, get it to work for you. I truly don't care if you use it exactly as it is, take it and adjust it. Find what works for you, stick to it, and have a lot of success. And if you guys got anything out of today's video, if you go hit like and consider subscribing, it really helps me grow the channel and get the message of bettering personal finance out to so many people out there. I greatly appreciate you all watching, and I'll see you in the next video.